We're all set to go here on the Columbia River in Tri-Cities, Washington for Heat 1A, and the 5 fastest boats have qualified this past week are set to go for the first day's action, and to run it down, Sam Cole.
Jim, we're about 1 minute away right now from the start of the race. In this heat, it's the Atlas Van Lines, the defending national champion, driven by Chip Hanauer, owned by Fran Muncy and the crew chief, Jim Harvey. It's a blue and white boat. The U-12, the Miss Budweiser, our second fastest qualifier, driven by Jim Kropfeld, owned by Bernie Little, and the crew chief is Dave Cully. It's red, white, and gold. The Miss Renault and Milner Irvin, U3, owned by Jerry Shaneth. It's yellow and black. American Speedy Printing, driven by Jack Schaefer Jr., owned by RV Bob Taylor. It's red and white. And the Squire Shop, U2, driven by Earl Hall, owned by Bob Style. It's red and white. We're 30 seconds away from the start.
As the boats go up there, Budweiser on the inside. We talked to Jim Kropfeld earlier and asked him where he wanted to start in this first heat.
Well, my strategy for the first heat is going to be no strategy. I'll go out and see what the Atlas wants to do. I think he's probably going to want to try a drag race start. The water's very smooth here, and that's to his benefit. And if he does that, I'll have to stay back and just take what's left.
It's Renault on the inside, American Speedy Printing in the third lane. It's the Atlas Van Lines on the outside, Budweiser, and here they go. Down to the number 1. Budweiser was on the outside, as he told us he'll start anywhere and try to pull him. As they go down to corner number 1, it looks like Niagara Falls as they dive in the corner number 1 for the first time today, Sam.
It sure does, Jim, and it's Chip Hanauer in the Atlas Van Lines, and whoa, he takes a big jump out of the water. Hanauer brings it around the turn, but here comes Jim Kropfeld and the Miss Budweiser.
As they come down that back chute almost side by side, look at the Atlas Van Lines start to pull in lane number 1 right now. As they come down to corner number 3, there goes Budweiser. Oh, he almost flew it right off the edge. He really showed him the short way there as he goes into corner number 3, almost side by side. Keep those cameras tight, guys, because look at the rooster tail as he hangs it on that skid fin right now. That second rooster tail comes up, shows you he's in a turn, and it's Budweiser coming closer to lane 1. Give him a little squeeze, and Kropfeld now brings it down to complete lap number 1.
We're going to have to watch that, Jim Hendrick, as Kropfeld goes by. Chip Hanauer got some wash. We're going to have to check with the officials. It was pretty tight as they came around there, but Jim Kropfeld, even though he doesn't have a lot of experience with Unlimited, he showed Chip Hanauer that he can hold a lane, and he pinched Atlas Van Lines in way tight.
Atlas Van Lines is really bouncing through some of that weight that the Budweiser has left right now, as the Budweiser is in lap number 2. Coming down now, it looks like the Atlas Van Lines Quite a Little Water has really dropped back about 10 boat lengths now, and it'll be all Budweiser coming toward corner number 3. Here he is. He's starting to get back up on plane. He slowed way down off of corner number 2, Sam.
Yes, something went wrong in the engine compartment there. He might have taken on some water or something. Hanauer slowed way, way down, giving Kropfeld about a 5.5 second lead here. The Miss Renault and Milner Irvin currently in third. Here's our leader, Jim Kropfeld in the Miss Budweiser. Jack Schaefer in the American Speedy Prince fourth, and the Squire Shop and Earl Hall fifth. But Kropfeld is on his way to a victory here.
The kid with the mustache from Cincinnati, the rookie in Unlimited Hideaway Racing. Actually, he won't have 1 full year in Unlimiteds until we hit San Diego, where he started to take over the Budweiser boat last year. He splashes through corners number 1 now on his 3rd lap.
Jim, here's Jack Schaefer in the Bob Taylor's American Speedy Printing Special out of Seattle, Washington, or Houston, Texas, I should say, as they've been working out of Seattle lately. He's in 4th place right now, chasing Milner Irvin. Here's our leader, Jim Kropfeld, Miss Budweiser, and Bernie Little. They hold a 200-point lead over the Atlas Van Lines in the national championship race.
And let's let the public on ESPN know how they score. A first place finish in any heat, elimination or final, gets 400 points. Second place goes 300 points. Then 225 for third, and right now, speaking of our 3rd place boat, it's the Miss Renault. And that boat, driven by Milner Irvin, owned by Jerry Shaneth out of Detroit, has really come along. And I had a chance, our ESPN cameras went down the pits before the race today, and Sam Cole had a chance to talk to Miller about the way the Renault was improving every race.
Milner, your boats never looked better this year as the Columbia River course, or are things just beginning to get dialed in for you?
Sam, we've been working awfully hard, and the crew's really worked hard, and we've done a lot of work on the sponsons, and it's calmed it down considerably. We can run a little faster down the straightaway. Not to take anything away from the Columbia Cup course, I think it's super, and I'm really happy to be running on a 2-mile course.
What about the Miss Renault? Back east, the water's a lot rougher and the like, and a lot of times you had to run through that slop, but it seemed to make it through pretty good.
Well, it's a good, strong boat. It's just pretty flighty. It was back east, as you remember, and here it's a little water smoother, and I think we'll run a little bit better here.
You're out here today. You're the 3rd fastest qualifier for the race. Are Are you going to be able to give Chip and Jim a run for it?
Well, we sure hope so. I'm not totally confident that we won't still be flying a little bit. We run qualified third fastest, and we did that in smooth water. When race time comes, it's going to be a little rougher than it has been. So we might be still flying, and it might not be quite as quick as it was in qualifying.
Back here on the race course, Miss Budweiser is down to corner number 1, has completed 4 laps right now. About 4.5 seconds back, and gaining some ground is the Atlas Van Lines in second. The Miss Renault, and we just heard from the driver, Miller Irwin.
And the Atlas has a fire, Jim. Chip Hanauer as he goes down there. Here's Jack Schaefer and the American Speedy Printing Boat. As Hanauer went into that turn, flames came out. He overloaded the engine, and that's what happened. Jack Schaefer, our number 4 boat right now, in Bob Taylor's American Speedy Printing Special out of Houston, Texas. Here's the Atlas, Jim. Chip seems to have everything back in tune there.
I think he overloaded it as he come into corners number 1 of the apex, and you just saw a flash fire off them hot stacks, Sam. But he's riding pretty smooth now. And here's our leader coming off of corner number 4. The green flag.
Now he'll get the checkered flag here, Jim. This is lap number 5 on this one for Cropfield, so he's going to win another heat aboard Bernie Little's boat. And you know, this is going to be his 14th heat victory of the year. He's only got 1 second-place finish all year long, but he's won 14 heats this year, 1 second place, so whenever he goes on a course, he does it. Chip Hanauer and the Atlas Van Lines will take a second place here finish here this afternoon. Milner Irvin in the Renault, who we interviewed earlier, a very fine finish in 3rd, and Jack Schaefer and Bob Taylor's American Speedy Printing Special will take a 4th.
Everybody up here in the press deck kind of looked at me, and I did not see the checker flag come out. In fact, the checker flag on our flag boat inside the course did not show the checker flag to Budweiser, but did to Atlas Van Lines, so he's a little slow. But the Budweiser did not get any penalty, evidently.
Well, Jim, we're hooked up to our officials by our radio system, and Chief Referee Lee Shana and Arnie Green were on there, and it was a checkered flag lap for everyone. Now, remember, 4 of these boats are going to advance to our final here later in the day, and we're going to hopefully see Earl Hall and the Squire Shop, who failed to finish.
All right, so the order finished with Miss Budweiser first, second to the Atlas Van Lines, 3rd to Miss Renault, 4th to American Speedy Printing, and a DNF did not finish to the Squire Shop with driver Earl Hall. More action from the Tri-City, Washington area here on the Columbia River in just a moment.